Welcome to the Beer Can Cold podcast with your hosts Will Merritt and JG Van Gran, a podcast where the suction line is always beer can cold. Take it away, boys.
Dougie has done it again. He is the only employee we have that never calls out sick. Pat, he's the guy we paid $2.50 for. He's an AI voice, and he's our best employee. We paid him one time. It's been a good thing, right? So, well, we're back in a very exciting episode today. And today, for the first time, because there's 4 blocks, my space is not squishy. You can actually see the mess behind me, so I'm a little embarrassed about my garage pub. But this is where rugby lives, fellas. Rugby and heating and air. It lives in this garage. My wife allows me to be out here and do my own thing, so this is my fun place. But welcome today. Will, I'll have you take a minute and introduce Josh and Patrick to us.
Okay. Hey, you can still hear the background music. So I just want to let
I'm
you know.
trying to be professional, Will. I'm trying to ease it in, ease it in.
Sorry,
but we're big time now. We hit 8,000 views. We got to do something
I
better.
thought it was
bud.
10. You must be
No, it was
lying.
8. Yeah, I was lying to you. I was trying to get you excited.
No.
So anyway, sorry.
We've got 2 awesome guests today, Patrick and Josh Lange. They are from the Business Modification Group. And just kind of met Patrick briefly at a conference down in Orlando back in February, but I think we've kind of known each other online. And Josh, I've seen you some with your dad. You were at the conference too. I didn't get to speak to you directly, but no, we kind of all run in the same circles, and we have seen a lot of activity with businesses being bought and sold in this industry in the last few years. A lot of private equity activity going on. So we thought it would be awesome to have these guys on today because that is their playground. So
Right.
Go ahead, Patrick, Josh, whichever one would like to go first. Why don't you introduce yourselves and give us a little bio on yourself.
Sure, absolutely. I'll go first. So I appreciate you having me on. Yeah, Will, we've been connected on Facebook or LinkedIn or both for what seems like an eternity. So when we finally met, it was like I'd known you for years. So the power of social media, I guess. So I appreciate you coming on. Yeah, our company is Business Modification Group. We do help people buy and sell heating and air, plumbing, and electrical companies. Probably 90 to 95% of what we do is just heating and air. And the rationale there is, when I got started, I owned a heating and air company. Sold that probably been 6 or 7 years ago now. And actually my son and daughter-in-law bought it from me. They run it today. Up until probably 6 months ago, maybe a year ago, my office was still in their office. So they got my unsolicited advice every day. So I'm sure they were thrilled that I finally moved out to my own office location. So, we've been fortunate the last 6 years. We've sold just at 140 companies.
Wow.
And yeah, we've been able to help a lot of people over the years, and so happy to be here. And I'll let Josh's first podcast. So we'll let Josh introduce himself and give a little bit of his background and what he does for Business Modification.
Hey,
He's got a cocktail.
Josh, it's only our 11th podcast, buddy. So don't worry about it.
Is it 11? I thought we'd done a couple more than that.
Maybe it's 12. Sorry, Josh. We're at 12.
I'm glad you guys could be my first one. Beer Can Cold sounds like an awesome one for me. My first one. My name's Josh. I'm the other son. I'm not the one who got the HVAC company. I'm on the business side of things.
Nice.
I've been doing it for a little while, not as long as Patrick has been, but I've been trying to get my foot into the industry. I'm relatively new, and so I'm very excited to be here today.
That's awesome.
It's a great industry, and your dad will probably tell you this. Once you're in it for life. You may get to move around, which I have quite a bit over the years. But yeah, once you're in it, you're a lifer. I tell some of the people on our team, some of the girls, I'm like, look, you know this, that you're done. You're stuck. You're going to be driving down the road now, looking at air conditioning units and seeing job site signs and cranes and all that stuff. It's the rest of your life now. So anyway,
yeah,
welcome both of you.
I tried to leave for a year and a half, and it just sucked me right back in. It's the most unhappiest year and a half of my life. So it surely is. This industry is awesome. So it's really good.
My son's in here.
The worst part for us is we go to a family event. Now you've got my son and daughter-in-law. in the industry. My wife and I, who obviously have been in the industry and are in the industry, and then Josh and his girlfriend, who now are in the industry, and we're talking about air conditionings and signs and advertisements and commercials, and you can't go anywhere without it consuming our life. Unfortunately, in a restaurant, looking at the ductwork running above our head.
Oh yeah. Oh, that spiral is sweating. You know, you're seeing it's condensing. You know, it's dripping on me. You know, well, I tell you, that's at least better than like when our big family gets together, guys. It's usually the conversation always comes around at the dinner table, Thanksgiving, to talking about pooping. So at least, you know, air conditioning is a little bit better than going to the bathroom.
So,
big family.
So, Pat, I have a lot of questions today, and I know Will sent out a little bit of a script, and it's great. But I actually went from the distribution side, and I'm back into the contracting side and working for a fairly large contractor as I think the job description is operations manager, but I believe it's general manager, and then we do EOS, so it's actually implementer. So it's a little bit of everything. But you know, so we're very happy and so forth. But I do know when I was a territory manager, I had several customers that I was still close with, that would just, you know, you would get that phone call on a Thursday and like, I am just done. I'm done. What do I do? You know, so when you get that call, that frustrated call from a guy to say, I'm done, I'm ready to move on, what is the first things? I'm sure you guys come in, the books are the first things you probably look at, isn't it?
No, it's kind of tell me a story about the business, right? So I've been there. I've sold 3 of my own companies. The first one I would have paid somebody to take, right? So I've been on that side that, you know, I wanted out. It didn't matter what the dollar figure was. And then I've learned along the way, there's a lot more that goes into that. But, you know, it's kind of tell us about the business. You know, what do you do? Who does what? You know, are you commercial, residential? Do you new construction? You have maintenance agreements in place. Tell me about the staff, because at the end of the day, they're buying numbers, right? And to me, I preach this: the number's the easy side of the deal, right? It either makes mathematical sense or it doesn't. So what are you looking for? You know, are you looking to cash the check and be out the door in 2 weeks? Are you looking to stick around for 6 months? What does the ideal buyer look like? The beauty of the market being so strong, and I know often private equity is viewed as the devil, and that they're ruining the industry. But the reality is, for a lot of people, it's been incredible for their industry.
Sure.
You know, it's driven up prices in a lot of markets that haven't driven up prices in years. It's brought buyers to the table that didn't know anything about heating and air 5 years ago. So I view it differently than a lot of people do. But kind of tell us about the business, and then we start from there. At the end of the day, the numbers come into play, right? I mean, it's a financial transaction, but tell us about the business and what that looks like first, and then we kind of go into the numbers.
Yeah, well, I can tell you this. We've had a number of our customers get purchased, and haven't been privy to exact numbers, but I know some of them got some big money for it, and I've just been astonished. And this was, you know, a few years ago, so I think things have maybe you tell us, have they numbers flattened a little bit, quieted a little bit, or are they still just as strong? If we were hearing these crazy multiples, 5 times earnings type thing, and just even bigger than that.
Yeah. So what Josh and I do is kind of the smaller end of the market, we'll call it. The average company we sell probably does $1.5 million to $6 or $7 million in sales. We'll do 3 a year doing over $10 million in sales. And so that part of the market did get crazy, right? I sold several companies for 10 plus times earnings. And I think that has slowed down a little bit. But what Josh and I do on a daily basis, kind of mom and pop companies, there's still a lot of value. And we've seen more activity this year from January to now on listings than we saw all last year. So the market is still crazy. We've listed some companies, and Josh would know better. He tracks it more than I do. We listed a couple in Texas. Josh, I think the first day we got 80, 90 NDA signed.
Wow. In one day.
In one day. Before we even went live. That's just going to our email list. Josh, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I think one was 90 NDAs, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and so what are you doing? Are you sending that out to your list of contacts before it really hits the market?
Yeah, so we have buyers that we've done business with, buyers
Mhm.
who requested information, buyers that we vetted, that have indicated, hey, if you get something in Florida, we're interested. If you get something in Texas, we're interested. And so
Right.
we put it in front of those people first. We know they're real buyers. They're not technically competitors because the reality is the hardest part of what we do is letting everybody know your business is for sale and nobody know it's your business, right? We don't want your customers, we don't
Mhm.
want your competitors, and we don't want your employees to know it's for sale. It creates
Sure.
panic.
Yep.
And so we go to our vetted people first, typically a day or two before we go to the general market. And the numbers I'm talking about were just to our existing buyers.
Wow. Well, that's interesting to hear. Just from what the feeling I get, it seems like it's quieted a little bit, but I'm not in it day to day like you guys are. But just it
Yeah,
seems like it was rampant several years ago, and just every time I turned around, you were seeing a company sell in a market. You go, oh wow, really? They sold, and
yeah, and I'd have to look at the numbers. We typically average 20 to 25 deals a year.
okay,
And year to date, I think, Josh, how many have we closed? 11 so
Yeah,
far.
I think about 11, 12.
And I
yeah,
think we have 12 or 13 under contract that'll close in the next 60 days. So
Wow.
we're certainly outpacing last year. And we're one brokerage firm, right? I mean, there's a lot of people who do what we do.
mm,
So all we have to look at is our numbers. But a quality company, there's tons of interest. And I think part of that is private equity's gobbled up a lot of the big guys, right? So now
yeah,
they've moved down market a little bit, and it's also created a new class of buyers. We have a lot of buyers that we deal with that I met a year ago when they were in banking or insurance or something else, and they bought a company, and now they've bought 5 companies from us or 3 companies from us. So we're seeing a kind of a new class of buyer, we'll call
Well,
hmm,
I think the industry is starting to understand that, this is where the money is. So we passionately very much talk here about the youth getting into this industry, and I have mentioned several times, actually last week on the podcast, how that is shifting. My daughter's graduating high school. It's our youngest is graduating high school, and there are several of her classmates that has come to me to say, how do I get into the industry? College is not that much of a thing anymore. And I think people are starting the after COVID, the stigma is off. It's you don't go open a heating and air company when you don't have any other option or your mom and dad had one. This is now becoming a thing to where people understand how much money can actually be made if it's run well, right? And it's actually the investment can almost double itself very, very quickly.
Well, and like Josh and his friends are a prime example. I think 3 of Josh's friends work for his brother.
Yeah.
So
really,
so yeah, Josh chose to go to college because dad was paying for it, and and so
I
and
did the same
so
thing.
and so he's got friends that have worked there, and one is a lead technician there, at 22 years old or 23
Mhm.
years old. Went to Ultimate Tech Academy, did other things, and so I preach it to people buying businesses is develop young talent. I think
Yes.
chasing the guy who's been in the industry 20 years and the last 20 years has worked at 20 different companies is not the answer.
No,
And developing talent. And I've seen it where companies that I've sold that every person worked there had no industry experience before they came there, and they're giving people careers. They're buying cars, they're buying houses, they're supporting their family, and they become more loyal, right? You gave them an opportunity and they've made something with their life, and some are going to leave, right? But some are going to stay, and the ones that stay have turned out to be incredible technicians.
yeah. And here we go.
Yeah.
What are we talking about again? Culture. We've seen
Well,
culture comes up in every podcast.
yeah, and I'm not going to go there again because I've said it on many podcasts. But what makes us very unique at Bohr Brothers is I think we're up to like 68% of our employees has never worked for another contractor. We get them straight out of technical or community college, and
Mhm.
we teach them our way, and they don't go away. They stay, and that's what we want. So actually, I'm in the process now. I really need 2 lead techs pretty quickly because we just are pacing what my long-term vision with these young guys can produce, and it's hard to find people without bad habits or that looks presentable or that can talk. And so I think when you guys probably look at these companies and try to evaluate them, that's a piece that goes into that a little bit. I mean, do you guys actually look at who's on staff, what their characteristics are they going to stay with the company, that type of thing?
Yeah, we asked for an employee breakdown. How long have they been there? What
Okay.
are they
Hmm.
getting paid? How are they getting paid? Is there a number two that can step up? Is there somebody else who can step up into a bigger role? We asked a lot about staff, and I can tell you in buyer seller calls, we give a packet out to a buyer, right? We vet the buyer, we give them a packet of the business that tells all the wonderful things about it, how many maintenance agreements, commercial, residential, what is in it, and the buyer seller calls always go to tell me about your staff. Tell me about your employees. Where'd they come from? How long have they been there? And we have in there tenure with the business, that kind of thing. And at the end of the day, that's what buyers are buying, right? These big consolidators can come into any market and outspend everybody else. They need, my term is, they need butts and trucks, right? They need somebody who can run a call that looks, like you said, looks presentable, can show up and speak the language, be nice to people. When I bought my company, I think about this so bad. When I bought my company, we had an installer that had been in the business for 20 years, and he wouldn't wear sleeves on a shirt. Any shirt we bought him, he cut the sleeves off. And he wore camouflage pants and combat boots every day. I mean, just looked
freedom,
atrocious.
baby. Freedom.
Every day. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I can't send him into a house. But he was an incredible installer, knew ductwork better than anybody I've still been around to this day.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if he's allergic to sleeves or what it was, but I mean, that was just him. And obviously he didn't last that long. So, after we took over, because that just wasn't the image we were looking for. But same point in time, it's a different world, and it's a different technician, it's a different installer, and developing that is so much better, and buyers really understand that.
The one question I had, Patrick, and it's something that as kind of a leadership role in our company, that's something that I advised our leadership group against several times. But it's like, when you guys go, and I'm sure the most valuable thing you look at is the customer base, right? So if you look at a customer base and you see that there's a lot of home warranty type of stuff going on, does that devalue a company? Because in my opinion, a home warranty company, and they're great for slow times and so forth, but they coach the customer that they don't have to pay any money to get something fixed, right? So to me, I've always been told, and have been coached, that don't get involved in that if you're thinking about selling your company. Is that true?
So yes, I'm going to say yes and no. Up until 4 months ago, I'd say 100% accurate yes. I have a home warranty company under contract now that's closing in 2 weeks in Texas, and all they do is home warranty. That's it. They don't do any other customers.
Wow.
They're guaranteed 5,000 service calls a year. They have zero marketing spend. They don't spend a penny on marketing, and so their profits are incredible. And I think a big argument with home warranty is it's hard to get paid. They're cheap customers. This seller was doing both. He was doing home warranty and was doing traditional mom and pop taking care of customers. And he was part of every coaching organization across the country, and said, I'm going to these coaching organizations and they're telling me to get rid of my home warranty and run my business model their way so I can net 15%. And I'm netting 30% dealing with the home warranty company.
Wow.
Off of his tax return, his net to the bottom line has been 30% a year. I've seen 5 years of taxes.
Wow.
And he said, I have no marketing budget. He said the whole problem is understanding how to get paid, right? Understanding what they're going to pay for and what they're going to do.
Yeah.
He understands that extremely well.
Yep.
And he's a preferred partner with them, and they feed him business all day, every day. And so his is a capacity issue. It's finding enough techs to be able to run all the calls that they give him, like everybody else have the can.
Yep,
sure.
So JG, I up until a few months ago, I said, absolutely stay away from it, run from it. But I think I see all sorts of ways to make money, right? At the end of the day, does it hurt your selling price? Absolutely it does, because most people are scared to death of it. And to have that much customer concentration where one of your customer generates 98% of your revenue, buyers are scared to death.
Yeah.
So in that scenario, if the ultimate goal is to build a business to sell, 100% stay away from it. I wouldn't touch it, because of the risk and the figuring out how to get paid and all the other things that come with it. But from a profitability standpoint, I've looked at 30% rate return on tax returns for 5 years and been consistent.
Yeah,
that's pretty impressive.
I think the fear would be, it's probably the owner has the relationship, and when the owner leaves, is that relationship going to die?
And he's agreed to stay on. So most of my sellers, it's kind of weird. I hear a lot of people talking about, sticking around for the second bite of the apple that everybody preaches about and all these other things. It seems when most people get to me, they're done. I don't sell a lot of 40-year-olds who want to sell their business and get into something else. Mine is the 60 or 65-year-old that's
Tired.
been in business for 30 years and he's done. He's done with the refrigeration changes, done with the employee issues, done with all these problems.
Running the company.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're done. And so most of my sellers, and I would say 90+% of my sellers are gone in 3 months or less. That there's no transition period. They're going to go sit at the beach or play golf or go hunting and fishing or whatever they want to do. And so we don't have a lot of that second bite of the apple stuff. So that scenario, the only way it's working is he is sticking on. It's going to be a slow transition. He's going to handhold them to make sure it's a good fit for everybody. But he says, I don't run a service call. I don't answer the phone. I don't do anything. So the warranty company doesn't know me. They know my business and my company, and they feed them leads electronically. Here's your leads for tomorrow. Go run these calls. And so it's been an education for me.
Yeah.
So do you run into it a lot where somebody comes in, not from the industry, buy a business, but then they have to have the license, right? So then you structure some other way with the guy selling the business to keep the license in play, or how does that normally work?
So a lot. Yeah, we do. We used to do a lot of deals with SBA, and the SBA would allow the seller to remain on as a license holder. They have just changed that rule. It goes into effect on the 1st of June. So 10 days, I guess. So that's gonna shake up the market a little bit, in my opinion. We have a lot of sellers who will stay on. Obviously, that's a gray area in licensing. I mean, they're getting paid to rent their license technically. But I know people who are licensed in 10 states, and they'll rent their license in those states, and that's their retirement income is qualifying companies. So the rules state that you're an employee of the company and you're supervising the work and responsible for the work being done. Their response to that is I have them take pictures and send me the installs that they're doing and sending what they're doing, and I spot check them. So yeah, that is very common in the industry.
Yeah.
Very.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead, sir. No, go ahead.
I was just going to throw out a question from the little brief conversation we had in Orlando. So you were telling me a little bit about private equity and how when they buy a business and how they're funding the marketing and what they're doing, and a little bit of a shell game, it sounded like to me from our brief conversation. Elaborate a little bit on that. I'm just curious because we've had it in our marketplace. I think they're actually the largest contractor in the U.S. now, was purchased by the Wrench Group. And so just curious, what's a little bit on that side? Some contractors would like to know, what's going on that side of things for these people with deep pockets.
Yeah, so the market's shifting, right? Obviously, there was a big named one that was kind of primarily in the Southeast that filed bankruptcy recently.
I know that.
Yeah, and in today's news, I saw 2 fairly large companies are merging from the consolidator side. Just came out today. I saw that. And so it's shifting, right? At the end of the day, we see some big players are going into markets in greenfielding, where they're almost giving away business to get a customer base built up. Others are gobbling them up, consolidating them. Obviously, Will, you being on the marketing side, you're competing against these behemoths every day to try to get your customer views and leads and everything that comes with it. The thing I preach so if I'm representing a seller and the seller's looking at these different offers, the thing I preach, because somebody can raise capital doesn't mean they can run a business.
Sure.
Right. So you have heating and air and plumbing and electrical is all the fad currently and has been for probably 4 or 5 years. So everybody's rushing to it. Well, 5 years from now, a lot of those people are going to be gone, right? Yeah. They're going to be selling medical products, a lot of them are going to roofing now is the new hot craze, and they're going to other things. And so I think people treat it like this is permanent, and it's not. I don't believe it is. It's happened before. For those who've been around the industry enough, the Blue Dot days and all these other consolidators that have taken place, gotten real big, went out of business. Then somebody else came along, got real big, went out of business. And so history repeats itself, right? Over and over and over again. There's a lot of people who've cashed a lot of big checks over the last 6 years. I think if you own a quality business, I think there's still a good opportunity for you to get compensated in selling it. But in certain markets, a big private equity group would come there and they dominate the marketing and they'll take all the employees. But then in shoulder season, and they were all everybody gets paid based on performance, and now they move on to something else, right?
Bye. We don't have any hours.
Absolutely. And so, and all these technicians left, and I see a lot of people, and this is not negative against technicians, but they'll leave for 10 cents more an hour in a shiny new ladder, right?
Yes.
I'll meet them, they're like, oh, I'm going here and I don't have to crawl in attics or don't have to crawl underneath the houses. Well, somebody lied to you. You're in the heating and air space. You're going to crawl in an attic. You're going to crawl underneath the house. Dress it up any way you want to. That's a reality. And so they leave chasing this and they make a bunch of money, and then things slow down. The leads aren't coming in. Well, now they're not making any money. And now they're going back saying, hey, maybe working for a local mom and pop's not a bad place to be. Maybe
That's right.
maybe fixing an air conditioner is not bad. Because I see a lot of people, and this is something that bothers me, and I probably shouldn't say it, but there's a lot of companies that don't fix air conditioners. They sell them, right?
That's
Nobody gets an air conditioner fixed. Everybody just gets a new one. And I think
fight it every day. We fight it every day.
To me, I don't agree with that model for all sorts of different reasons. But I owned a heating and air company. My mother called me, lived 2 hours away, 85 years old at the time. My mother still believed in you only turned air conditioning on when people came over, right? So she never turned on her air conditioning.
I remember that as a kid.
Yeah. And so she calls me and says, hey, and I had her keep her maintenance agreement. She had a maintenance agreement with the company for years. Keep it. They're cleaning the system. They're checking on it. She called me and said, hey, the guy's here looking at my air conditioner. He says I need a new one. Will you talk to him? I said, sure. Did you tell him I own a heating and air company? She's like, no, I didn't. I said, perfect. Put him on the phone. So guy gets on the phone and proceeds to tell me how my mother needs a new air conditioner because it's only operating at a 6-SEER level. And I said, 6-SEER level? How in the world did you figure that out? He says, well, the oxidation on the coils. And I've been doing this so long, I can tell you it's a 6-SEER level. And I'm like, oh. And the contactor's pitted. Contactor's pitted. She needs a whole new system. And I'm like, that contactor's got it. So obviously she didn't get a new unit, but that's taking place, right? Absolutely.
Every day.
Driving, everybody needs a new unit. He never asked my mother, how often do you turn the thing on? Never asked her, is it working for you? It was, a pitted contactor and oxidation on the coils, and you need a new unit. And so I think that happens way more often than it should. And I'm not saying that people don't need new air conditioners. I'm not saying for the right scenario, you need to upgrade efficiency. You need to do all these things. But I think sometimes we're selling just to sell. And so that's not a model, in my opinion, that can last. You run out of people to sell something to, you rip off enough people, you can move to another market.
Yeah,
man, I got so much to say about what you just said. So, so we're on Indeed, right? So I put posts out on Indeed, like hiring techs, trying to come be funny with all these things, and we get a application here and there. I put in that I redid it, and I said, tired of working for those corporate buy companies, want to work for a mom and pop. I had triple the amount of resumes come to me just overnight, right? And no disrespect to what you guys are doing, but it's like, that's just it. There is so much, and I'm not going to name the names, but there's so much of these coaching groups out there that's like, oh, well, every call is a call to sell a unit, right? And so we have the guy that's leading so we actually broke it out. We have a PM department. That's where we bring the young guys in. That's where we're kind of getting them ready to become service techs. Well, so we know that department is going to either break even or be a little bit of a loss leader. So in that department, we have a head. This guy used to be a police officer. So we brought him in, we ran the discs, we understood the disc profiles, and we understood that this guy's can be really good at offering options. So all of a sudden he takes off and starts selling all these things. And immediately the owner's just like, well, wait a minute, is he taking advantage of our customers? I said, that's a great question. Let's record audibly one of his service calls or one of his maintenances. Come to find out, all he does is walk up to the homeowner and say, listen, this is what I found. Here's your options. You can pick either of them or you can pick nothing. You're going to be fine. And that's the sales model we implemented with all our guys. And all of a sudden, he's training all our young guys to do this. And we are now the non-pressure guys to go and say, listen, your system's running fine if you want to do these couple of things. And we're fairly successful. And the reason I think we're becoming more successful is there's so many other companies in these coaching groups going, no. That pitted contactor on an 8-year-old system means it's a new system. No, it doesn't necessarily. Let's do what's right for the homeowner. So I hear you on that. That's a big part of our industry, and one of our core values is integrity, and we fight that. When we bring new techs in, we have a tech that came in. He is really good. He is really billing high average tickets. I had to investigate. Like, are you selling things you're not supposed to? No, he's having the great conversations, right? So that's the difference. I think a lot of times, and I would think a company like that's more valuable to sell, right?
And that was the point I was just going to make. Absolutely, because a buyer's going to ask, they're going to want to see what percentage of your revenue comes from change outs, what
Yep.
percentage of your revenue comes from service. Because
Yep.
here's the reality: if every customer you go to has a new unit, I'm buying maintenance headaches, right? I'm buying callbacks, I'm buying warranty work, and if that customer calls back, they're mad. They're not happy with me. They're mad because the unit you sold them last year that's broken now that I have to fix. And if I didn't sell them an extended warranty on labor that I've got to charge them for, they're mad. And so
And
it
they're
absolutely hurts
unhappy.
value. Yeah,
Yeah.
it having a business that's built on service and repair and taking care of the customer and options, way more value than everybody gets a new unit.
And
No, I agree.
that's something that we market for. It's always twofold, guys. We're marketing, for the people that are that need repair and replacement, but we're marketing for employees, and that's a big thing. We say, hey, we're not one of the big corporate companies, and we're family owned, we're local. Come be a part of our team, and it's a true team, kind of like at JG's company. So that's a big thing. So. Well, let me ask you this before we get too far down the road. We've already gone off 3 different tangents already.
Sorry.
That's fine. I just want to say,
we knew this one was going to be good.
Sure.
We knew this was going to be a good one.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at our little questions we had, and you've covered a good bit of it. But how did you all of a sudden you sold your company to your other son? So when did you say, hey, I'm going to start the Business Modification Group? How did that happen?
So I was a broker before I owned a heating and air company. So
Okay.
I come from a brokerage background. I listed a heating and air company for sale and I bought it.
Oh.
So I live in Florida, as we mentioned earlier. I don't know a husband in the state of Florida dumb enough to tell his wife in the summertime he's not fixing the air conditioner. So I thought, what an incredible business. And so I bought it. I ran it for 2 years and I realized I didn't belong running a heating and air company.
Hey, I did it for like 6-7 months, and I realized too. I said, "This is not for me."
So it was an educational process, and I went to go sell. We were small companies, so doing under $2 million in sales. And when I went to go sell it, I'm a broker now, and I couldn't find out good information on selling a company that size. So I found if you're doing $20 million in sales, they'd line up to help you. But if you're doing $2 million, I couldn't find any reliable information. So told my son, I'm going to sell it. And he said, him and his wife said they want to buy it. So we ended up selling it to them. And I thought, so that was a little over 6 years ago. And I said, let me see if I can't find information. If I was a contractor who knew nothing about business brokerage, I really struggled. So based in Florida. And so we started, I said, I'm going to switch my practice and I'm just going to sell heating and air to start. And at the time I'd sold everything: bars, restaurants, gas stations, flower shops, you name it, I sold it. So I started and I sold some companies in Florida, then Florida, Georgia, then Southeast. And COVID happened, and COVID was incredible to my business. So I'm
same for ours.
Not far out at the time. Yeah, outside of Gainesville, Florida. And so I could fly from Gainesville to LA for $250 round trip. And I was the only person on the plane. So every seat was first class. I was the only person in a hotel. I was the only person renting a car. So I'd leave Gainesville, Florida at 6 in the morning. I'd get to LA at like 10 o'clock LA time. I'd do 2 meetings. Next morning I'd get up and fly back, and I'd be out $300 in a day.
Yeah.
I mean, it was incredible. So we became nationwide pretty quickly. And once again, since that time, last 6 years, we've sold 140, and we've been fortunate to help a lot of people. And so that's how I got in it. Josh, you can share how you got in it, being you got roped in it too.
Yeah, let's hear. This is what I've been waiting for. Josh has been awfully quiet, so let's hear. I may have to get.
Spotlight can be on me now. So all it took was one summer from my brother owning the HVAC company to realize I'm not wanting to be in the big family business for that side. Not enough insulation sweat on me could get me back into an attic. So I was
a little itchy, right? Little itchy.
I knew college was for me. So I grew up playing baseball my whole life. And so I played a lot of baseball, traveled around. And so listened to my dad put together deals on the phone seemed pretty interesting to me. I wasn't fully sold yet. And so I was doing baseball in South Florida and waking up at 4 a.m., doing schoolwork and going to baseball and trying to help a little bit with his job was not working out for me. And so I decided to just jump into it full time. So I've just been doing it for the last 3 years now. I've been working a lot behind the scenes. I've been doing a lot of behind the scenes work for the past few years now, but I've been trying to step into the limelight a little bit. It's hard to share the spotlight with this guy who talks a lot. I got a good
awesome.
mentor. I'll trade something nice. I got a good mentor to lead me into the HVAC space. So
That's
All
awesome.
right, all right, Patrick. I think he gave you 2 really cool dad kudos there.
He did.
My son just popped in here, and I know it's hard to get that little
Yep.
dad. I actually was listening type of thing. So good job.
Yeah, and he knows I can still whip him, so he better say something nice.
Yeah, I have 3 kids, and only one stuck to heating and air. The other one I think will come back to it, and the other one will be the president of the United States. So I'm trying to figure out, how this is all. So I might be able to influence policy in about 30 years.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, I didn't force him, and I think his older brother some days cusses me that I sold him a heating and air company. And it's so funny. A quick story. I won't go off on this tangent. So he worked for me for a little bit, and so when he took over the company, I said, "What are you going to do?" He said, "Your problem is you're just too mean to these guys. You need to be nice to these guys." And and part of my reason for not owning a heating and air company, I grew up in you're just happy to have a job, right? And if it takes you 8 hours, 10 hours, or 15 hours that day, you're just happy to go to work, and you're going to work 15. So the newer, I hate to say softer, but the newer employee mentality is not. I'm not great at patting somebody on the back and telling them I love them and you did a great job today. I paid you. We went to work. We all won. Let's make it happen. And so my son takes his master plan was he was just going to be nicer to people. I thought, well, yeah, that works out for you. So probably 7 months later, I'm coming to the office, and he's getting into the van. I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I fired everybody." I said, "What?" And he said, "Yep, these jerks don't want to work, blah, blah, blah." I said, "Now, Joey, you just got to be nicer to these people now. You can't yell at people like this. You got to get so it's kind of coming full circle. So I got to see that happen. So it's been a transition for him and an educational process for him as well. And so anyways, he listened a year afterwards. He didn't listen when I was saying it. Now, hopefully Josh will catch on faster.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It's a different world, that's for sure.
It is.
You have to be, I grew up in the world where, in early in distribution, if you didn't do something right, you got cussed out. And,
And I tried that same leadership approach, and I can tell you it didn't work.
Doesn't work at all.
I'm part of a little leadership group. We're like a round table of I think 10 contractors now, and then every Tuesday we meet via Skype or Zoom or whatever it is. And our coach is through a coaching company that we all use, and we talked about this actually last night. Is how this whole the coaching thing, bringing up the youth, like the talking forward through this piece is so important, and it's like. I don't know. It's bringing the sons in early to make sure that they can learn what this is going to be like, going forward. I think that's a big part of it. Yeah. And the daughters, I should say, and the daughters. Damn, I'll be in a lot of trouble.
My son, my oldest, says I've gotten soft now because I don't yell and cuss and scream like I did when he was working for me. So I don't know if it's soft, maturity, old age. I don't know what it is, but I'm trying to act better now.
Yeah. So, Pat, I do have one question. So I'm a guy that bought a company. I got my license. I got a couple guys on the road. I'm aiming for about 5 million. I want to sell my company in 5 years. What do I do? What is the right steps to take and the right moves to make? And does that move include plumbing? Because that's like a big thing right now. We're starting plumbing division. Is that part of it?
So I have 2 different answers for that. So let's talk about the plumbing first. Adding another trade, whether it's plumbing, electrical, or a plumber adding HVAC. The problem I see is most do it too soon. So I believe if you're not at $10 million in sales, you haven't really figured out your trade.
Okay.
And that's arbitrary, right? The 10 million. I just see the companies who I see do it super successfully are 10 million above in sales. If you're at $2 million in sales, and you're adding another trade, to me, you're adding another headache.
Yeah.
and you haven't figured out how to make the phone ring consistently, right? You don't have your marketing dialed in if you're at 2 million. You don't have your hiring and training and staff retention dialed in if you're at 2 million. You haven't maximized each call, so you understand what's going on and understanding your numbers at 2 million or $1.5 million. So to me, you're doing $2 million in sales and you think, well, if I just bring somebody, if I add another trade, every one of my customers is going to use me and I'm going to keep them busy. So you bring over a plumber, you promise them this great opportunity, and then the phone doesn't ring, right?
Yeah.
So now they're mad.
Yep.
They're not making any money. They're not running any calls. And so now either they leave, he or she leaves, and now you don't have anybody to do it, or you're burying them in work and you can't hire enough people to keep helping them out. So it's a disaster for everybody involved. So I think adding another trade is great, but you need to make sure you've got your trade figured out and understand what you're doing. And some people say you never get it figured out, right? But at a certain level, $8 million, $10 million in sales, you're typically firing on all cylinders. So that's on the adding another trade section. On the other part, you're a smaller company. What should you do? To me, I preach focus on 4 things. 1, get yourself out of the van. If I look at your Google reviews, if it's Will's company and every Google review tells me that Will was the best salesman, the best installer, the best technician, best everything, you got to get out of the way and you're hindering your own growth. The companies that I see that are stuck at $1 million or less is because the owner won't get out of the van. So get out of the van is the first thing. Second thing is clean up your books. Many people treat their business like it's their personal checking account. And so every expense runs through it. And if you're trying to maximize the value of your business, you can't do that. You need to separate it. You need to have clean books. The third thing is a business built on service, repair, and replacements. I'm a huge fan of maintenance agreements for all sorts of reasons. 1, I think it's the right thing for the customer to have you in their home and looking at their system when it's not busy. Most of these small guys have technicians running 10 calls a day. And I don't believe you can deliver a good experience. Right. I don't believe you can do a good job for a customer if you're running 10 calls a day. And so maintenance agreements allows you to bring in a younger person, get them trained, get them better, spend more time in the customer's home, really find out what's going on, what's working well, what's not working well. And then back, JG, you were talking about a little while ago about offering options. I think maintenance gives you that opportunity to do it, reduces your marketing spend. All these things that I think it just does a better job. And then the fourth thing is staying away from new construction. I think you can make
focus on it 100%.
You can make a lot of money in new construction, right? Or you could lose a lot of money in new construction. It's an either or game. It's never one of both. But if the goal is to build a business that it maximizes value, the technician or the installer who's running through 100 rafters a day hanging ductwork in a new construction is not the same girl or guy you're going to send to Mrs. Smith's house to hear about indoor air quality. So you end up having to train. It's not interchangeable. And so doing those 4 things will absolutely maximize the value of your business, and just do it over and over and over again. Yeah. And you'll have a super profitable, a business that's not reliant solely on you. I mean, the reality is many people that call me to sell is because out of pure frustration. They're done, right? Yeah. They're doing everything. And so a smaller company, and this is something that I have a video out. I have a YouTube channel on the video. One of my most watched videos is Your Baby's Ugly. And so I get to tell people that what they've spent their entire life developing, this baby of theirs, and nobody wants to buy it. And the reality is nobody calls me and says, hey, I want to work in the field for 15 hours a day and then go home and do paperwork for 6 hours, right? And that's nobody's dream. But how many businesses do you guys know that that's their business? Yep. That's their entire business.
Working in the business, not on the business.
Yeah, they can't let go. But I think, those are all 3 very important points you made, Patrick. But I think maintenance, I think we all know that's number 1. And I'll just tell you from hearing from the marketing perspective and just dealing with all different level size businesses. So when it's no weather going on, we're 65, 70 degrees, nothing's running, no heat, no cooling. I need leads. I'm like, well, and they don't have any maintenance agreements. I'm like, there are no leads right now. You can go throw a bunch of money, at Google and wherever, and it's not going to help you right now. And then we look at the companies, and JG will tell you the ones that are healthy on maintenance, they're going out, and we say maintenance equals opportunities. It's every time you go out to a home, and you have these people on all these levels. Somebody's 1 to 4 years, 5 years. maybe some accessories type of thing. Someone's 5 to 10, maybe something else. And then they start getting into this replacement time. You have to get them all at these levels. And every time you go out, you find something as an opportunity. You're not trying to sell, just like JG said, you're presenting and you're letting the consumer make the choice. But I've talked to just a bunch of different people this year, and I'm always kind of testing the waters and getting the barometer of the market of customers, talking to TMs, everyone. And I'm like, how are things going right now? And a lot of people are having really good years so far. And a lot of it's just, I think some consumers are being a little proactive with their thinking, they're hearing tariffs and all this, prices are going up. And so maybe they're acting, but it all boils down to maintenance. And it's not sexy. It's, like JG said, maybe it's a loss leader. I've had many companies tell me it's one of their most profitable divisions.
Right. Well, it depends on your family makeup, right? So for us, that's just a great place to coach. That's a great place to coach and teach how to speak to customers. Not just the technical aspects of how to clean a unit, but how do I speak to a customer? Mm-hmm. How do I, give these options? How do I act in a home? Do I make sure my pants are pulled up? I have a belt on, like those types of things, right? So the maintenance department teaches that. So it allows me to bring really young people in and get them ready for what's the future is going to look like. And actually, I had lunch with one of our maintenance guys today, and he's like, "Listen, man, been in the Air Force, been doing these things. I know why I'm in the maintenance department. Just know I'm ready because I'm tired of the monotony. I want to go find some things to fix." And that's great. That's what I want to hear. That's how we build that department, for sure. But Patrick, I wanted to mention to you, getting your footing under you before you start the next department. You're right. We're at 16 million. We're just now starting plumbing, and I'm gonna tell you, it's a challenge. I interviewed 14 drunk plumbers before I found the one unicorn. Like literally, one guy showed up for an interview at our location and fell out of his truck. Come on, man. And so then instead of sending him away, I do these funny things, man. Like I'm dual language, so I'll switch into another language during the interview, and I just watch facial expressions. I'll start monitoring the volume of my voice. Like I'll just do fun things like that to get through the interview. But, we found a unicorn. We found a guy that I think will be our mentor, our coach to build that department out. It took a long time, but it's not easy just adding a trade, but the value I think that it brings at the end of the day is going to be huge for us.
Sure.
And on the maintenance agreement thing, I couldn't agree more with that because, even the commercial PMs that we see, it's like you keep your residential techs busy on commercial PMs because we have a PM department. Those guys want to fix units. They don't necessarily want to clean crap all day long, right? So to keep them engaged, you get some commercial PMs. Plus commercial PMs, it's not like homeowners. You can kind of put those off a little bit if you need to. So the, May 28th, the 92 degrees hit. If I had 3 p.m. scheduled on a commercial rooftop, I can move those. That's fine. It's just a business. We can have a conversation with the homeowner, or I'm sorry, the business owner, to go through. But it's the PM piece of it is big. But I've heard different matrices on how much contracts you should have per dollar business you're doing. Do you guys have a true matrix on that?
So I've consistently heard 500 to 1,000 per million of sales.
Yeah,
I've always heard the 500 agreements per million in residential revenue, and I think the one that makes most sense is I've heard 500 per technician. Breaks down to 2.
It's a lot, guys.
Hang on. This is a perfect world. So the math works out that 50 weeks in a year, there's 2 weeks vacation. There's 2 demand service calls a day, 2 maintenance calls a day. That equals out to 500 demand service, 500 maintenance calls per year per tech. Very few contractors are there, but I didn't know if I guess what Jay-Z's asking, when y'all are diving into a business and the nuts and bolts of it, and really vetting the business, what are you using? So,
and I don't know that I've ever seen a company with the 1,000 per million. I haven't seen that. I've heard that. Here's what I can tell you, though. I don't know of any matrix that says if you have X amount of maintenance agreements it's going to sell for X price. But I can tell you, when I look at a company that's high in maintenance agreements, they're much more profitable. Their Google reviews are substantially higher. The customers paid for their own loyalty. If I'm paying you $200 a year for maintenance, if my stuff breaks, I'm calling you first.
Of course.
So they have a better training department. They have better employee tenure. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. And so if I have a company that has 2,000 maintenance agreements versus one that has none, I can promise you, I don't care if their revenue is even, that one with 2,000 maintenance agreements is going to sell for a lot more for all the reasons I just said.
Sure.
And go back to the marketing part with you, Will. If you look at a company that has thousands of maintenance agreements, their Google reviews are always going to be higher, right? There's going to be a lot more reviews. Well, on a Google review, it makes marketing easier, right? I mean, if they have all these other things in place, then it's going to make that easier. And so, I mean, it checks all the boxes.
And you can market to the base.
Absolutely. And so, I've never seen anything that says per X amount, it translates into X amount.
Now,
but I can just tell you more is better every single time on every measurement.
Now, the one thing so in this leadership group I'm in, one thing we're all discussing, 10 different companies all over the country, is 1 visit, 2 visit maintenance. That doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter how the maintenance agreement's laid out. It's just as long as you have those customers on contract.
Yeah, what I've seen that really works best is how they pay. You know, if you can get a monthly subscription.
Yep. Never ends.
It makes them stickier. And it's like I can't even think of Netflix. You know, I don't know what Netflix charges me. And I know the last time I saw something on Netflix, but I'm paying Netflix every single month. And so,
you know how much it is a month? It's like $26. I just saw it hit my credit. I just paid my credit card yesterday, and I always scan down and it was like Netflix, and it's like it used to be like $12. It's like $26, and I never watch it. All right, I'm going to stop talking. But let's bring us back around. I want to know. I've got a question on here that we sent out. Is what's the typical process look like? How long? You know, when a buyer or seller comes to you and says, or I'd say probably a seller comes to you, Patrick and Josh, and says, all right, I'm ready. I want to sell. You know, is there any kind of average time frame to that or not?
So anything I say is going to be a lie. Just because, you know,
we're recording this.
Yeah, if I list a company that's higher in sales, all service, all maintenance and repair, no new construction, you know, good Google reviews, high maintenance agreement counts, say $5 million in sales in a big market, we'll get offers that week. I mean, it'll be that quick. A company that's $1.5 million in sales, the owner's still in the truck some, in a small market, doesn't have many maintenance agreements, doesn't have a lot with a CRM system that they're using and tracking, and doesn't have clean books, it could take us a year. So, you know, it really depends on the business they built. And that's why I preach those 4 things. Make my job easier. You know, at the end of the day, it's like, and Josh and I were talking, you know, a few minutes ago about getting, you know, 90 NDAs in on a listing. We were getting we went live, and people were so worried about missing off on it, they were sending in offers before they even talked to the seller. I mean, it's just so if you build a good business, instantly
they will come.
If you have a business that's less structured, less built on purpose, then it could take time. And
that's, I hate to say it, that's probably majority of the businesses in the heat and air conditioning world and contracting, unfortunately. So,
it is.
Well, tell us this too. We're coming up on. We're trying to get JG under an hour. No, we're fine right now.
We got to do the tickety talk, but if we don't, it's fine too. I don't care.
I know, but give us kind of, I had the question here, the benefits. You know, some people say, I don't want to pay somebody to, help sell my business. But I just personally, my wife is going through, she's selling her business right now. And it's a process. And we're selling real estate too. So, kind of give us the benefits of why a business would want to hire you guys. I see it as a no-brainer if I were a contractor, but give us a little background.
Yeah, obviously I'm biased too, and so I see it as a no-brainer as well. So here's the reality. Most of my clients have never sold a business.
Yep.
Most of my clients, it's the biggest sale of their life.
Mm-hmm.
And they have zero clue what to do in the process. So if it's the biggest sale of your life and you've never done it, why in the world would you do it on your own? Is my, asking my question. They're telling people don't fix your own air conditioner, but then they're going to go sell their biggest asset. And there's professional buyers in the marketplace right now, right?
Oh, yeah.
So 6 years ago, when I first started, my first year, every heating and air company I sold was a mom and pop to another mom and pop. There was no private equity, no consolidation. It was Jim's Heating and Air buying out Tim's Heating and Air, and it was good people just getting together.
Yep.
Neither one of them knew what they were doing. Now you've got companies who've bought hundreds of other companies, and they're professional buyers. I don't think they're bad, but they're trying to get the best deal they can, right? At the end of it, if you own a company, JG, my guess is you guys are shopping supply houses. You want to find out who's giving you the best product on the best flex and the best line sets.
Yep.
And these buyers are doing the exact same thing. So if it's the biggest sale of your life and you've never done it, and you're dealing with a professional buyer, how in the world could you do it on your own?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
it sounds like, there's brokers out there, but go with a specialized broker. Same thing on our end in marketing. Why would you go with a standard marketing agency when you got one that understands the business inside and out? So I think it makes total sense. So,
and there's risk, right? On my side and your side, Will.
Yeah.
Well, there's risk. I mean, if you hire a marketing company that doesn't know anything about the trades and doesn't understand shoulder season and doesn't know the difference between a capacitor and a contactor and what an average service call is and all these things, you're having to educate them. You have to educate the marketing, and you're paying for the education for them. Same thing on my side. When you sell a business, there's risks there, right? How are maintenance agreements treated? What about warranties? How's that going to happen? All these things that are unique to the trades that, to me, I believe I can add value because I've done it 140.
Yep.
Yeah. Patrick, where does somebody that wants to either buy or sell a business find you?
So I'm all over the place, right? Will and I talked about, I'm big on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook. I think I have an Instagram now. I don't know anything about that part yet.
LinkedIn.
Josh knows. Josh has got you.
Yeah, Josh is my technology. He's the one who's keeping me afloat technology-wise. He does all the spreadsheets. He recasts all financials. He's certainly that department.
Put it everywhere. Who cares?
Yeah, our website, Business Modification Group. If you're looking at, you don't want to call me, but you want to learn more about selling your company, I have a YouTube channel, and that's a great place that I probably have 70 videos about buying and selling and heating and air, and so you can go on there and you don't have to call me and tell me anything. You can watch and learn stuff on there. Really, I try to be everywhere. I spend a ridiculous amount of money to be seen everywhere, and so certainly there. And call my office directly. I mean, I'm happy to talk to anybody about it.
It's building the presence out there, so you're doing the right thing. That's it's like I said. I feel like we've known each other, like we've been to dinner together and hung out or something. But we just know each other through LinkedIn and other stuff. But that's what it used to be, the marketing side of things. Like, oh, you can't put this on LinkedIn. You can only put that on Instagram or whatever. It doesn't matter anymore.
No, it doesn't. You
just put it out there. And I know it's very hard to put an ROI on social media and that type of stuff, but you are building awareness. And it's the same thing just for contractors, doing TV or radio or social media. People are seeing you're building impressions and hopefully you're building the right impressions. So when they have a need, someone finally says, I'm ready to sell my business. I'm done. I'm throwing my chips in, they've seen you, so it works.
Well, and I would like for you guys to send me all your contact information. I'll put it into all the video descriptions here that we try to launch on as many platforms as possible. And so I'll just put it in there so that at least people will know where to go find you for sure. Yeah,
I appreciate that. And obviously you can cut this part of it out, but obviously send everything to me. We'll distribute it on all ours too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We don't have to cut it out. People know how we do things.
No, we don't care, but everyone out there, like I said, if you're an owner, and I know it, I see it. You can tell when people are done. Like my wife, she's tired. She's tired. She loves what she does. She's a chiropractor, naturopath, functional medicine doctor. Loves what she does. She's tired of running the business, and I get it. And that's what happens, at some point. So people out there, if you're at that point, you should contact these guys. Business Modification Group. Google them. They're going to come right up. That's what I do to find anything. I'm old school. A lot of the younger generation, Josh, we're going to go to Instagram. We're going to go to TikTok. So that's why you got to be everywhere, Patrick, because everybody's different. I don't know why in the world no one would just Google something versus they would go to TikTok to find you. But I've heard things.
I'm old school too.
Yeah, I just Google, like, I take my car in, and I've been there a million times. I still don't store their phone number. I Googled them, got their number, called them.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yes, thanks guys for being on. I think we can keep talking. We're a little over an hour right now, JG, but I know you're going to cut out a little bit.
I don't care. I just don't. The conversation is great. And when the conversation is great, I never want to slow it down, right? Because I actually know personally 2 or 3 of my contractor friends that really need to listen to this podcast, and probably will be calling Patrick because, it's like the plumber we just hired, right? He was in business for himself for 22 years. There's obviously a reason that he's, in my location now, wanting to build the youth and build this great plumbing thing without the headaches. He's just, guys just get ready. And we thank them, quote unquote. It's not like the military, but we thank them for their service because we're a brotherhood, and, it's a big part of servicing customers. And, I'm going to tell you, I have great respect for contractors now that I am working for one. 3 different refrigerant changes and a 4th one on the horizon. It's a disaster. It is hard to deal with. It's constantly, I'm constantly bidding on jugs of 454 right now. I mean, it's not what I'm supposed to be doing, right? So I get it. I get the pain and the frustration for sure.
Yeah, it's a hard fought battle. And if I can throw a plug in here at the end, we got to participate in something today. One of our customers, Anderson Heating Cooling, I'm actually wearing their shirt to plug it, but we got to go to the TV station this morning, and we're partnering with Purple Heart Homes, and we nominated a veteran in need and did it live on air today. She didn't know it was happening, so it was pretty awesome. So I just want to say, hats off to Anderson for being involved with it, and hats off to Purple Heart Homes and John Galena and Cindy. It was very nice. It was really cool. So we're glad we can be a part of that. So we're looking for some, other people out there in other markets that would want to be involved with that too. So
yeah, we actually, right after you called me, I walked into a meeting with the brothers, and we are 100% in, Will. So I'll send you some
I'll connect tomorrow. You guys tomorrow.
Yep.
So
we're 100% in.
Network, because there's so many in need out there from, a lot of it's trade related stuff that we can help with. So our customers can. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Patrick, Josh, any last minute, last sentence, last whatever things you guys want to throw out there?
Thank you for the opportunity. I had a great time. I really appreciate you having me on. I know Will and I have been trying to make this happen for a little while now, so I'm super excited to be here. You guys, hopefully your listeners get some value out of it, and we'd love to come back sometime.
I think they will 100%, and I think, like, what I find out about social media is more people are seeing and watching and listening than you realize. And we are doing a better job of getting people scheduled. We're both, JG and I are both very busy, and then it's Monday or Tuesday. It's like, oh, we don't have a guest this week.
Yeah.
So I got you lined up last week, Patrick and Josh. We have next week's guest, and I'll go ahead and throw that out there. That's going to be Logan from Blue On. Is going to be on.
Oh, Logan's an incredible person. Yeah, that'll be a great.
Yeah, so he said, he would love it, but he told me, he goes, man, I love watching you and JG, and I'm like, well, boy, he's
one of 3. That's great.
Yeah, no, but more people are.
We're Josh and I are here too. We're supporters now.
Yeah, and I actually am excited to talk to Logan. So, Patrick, I got to spend 1.5 years in the software industry. I left distribution for a better opportunity, I thought, and it ended up not being that. But I got to spend that. I got a taste of that circuit, doing all the shows and all that stuff. So I traveled a lot and really enjoyed it. And actually, me and Will have been talking about picking 1 or 2, in the upcoming show season to go to together and actually have this podcast on the road a little bit. But I enjoyed it. But Logan was one of my favorite people to talk to. I'm sad we never got to hook up on one of those, but it was those trade shows are fun. They actually are quite a bit of a blast.
Yeah, until you do them for, I guess I've been doing it for 6 years now. The humor wears off after a while, but Logan together.
He's a road warrior.
I
was surprised. I was surprised he was available, but I did more than I normally do this spring, and a whole week in Vegas was a long time. So anyway.
Now, you know, Will, Logan's actually in Charlotte, and it won't take much for me to pack up this whole circus, and
He's in Rockville, he said, so he's probably 20 minutes from where I live. So
yeah, so maybe we throw down together somewhere next Wednesday. It'd be good.
Yeah. Bring it.
I'll be watching it when it comes out. Let me know.
All right.
Well, thank you so much, guys. This was a great and very informative podcast today. I feel like we keep getting better at these things. Thanks, Will, for bringing Josh and Patrick on. This was really informative, and I think we can really get this one put out there. And I know there's some contractors need to hear this for sure. Yeah. So what a great podcast. And just want to say I'm on this like death row sprint with one just graduating college and the youngest one just graduating high school on the way to college. So there's like, graduation parties for the next 3 weeks. So please pray for me. Keep me in your thought. I think I'm cooking for like 3 of those. So, it's going to be good, I guess, maybe.
That's not work. Don't even say that. You like
it's
really
not.
I do. Stop
it's
it.
not. It's a lot of fun. So, well, thanks, guys. Have a great evening, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you guys so much for having us.
Thanks, gentlemen.